Also new this midday, a Shelby County jury found a man guilty for killing his girlfriend and unborn child. That jury convicted Joshua Dotson after a 3-day trial. Police say that Dotson shot and killed Jamesha Covson and her unborn child at Covson's South Memphis home in 2020. Dotson will be sentenced in the coming weeks. He now faces the possibility of life in prison without parole.
2 hours after killing his pregnant girlfriend, Joshua Dotson posted this message on Facebook: "Fly high." Can you imagine that? The same hands that pulled the trigger were typing a memorial for the woman he just murdered. But here's what makes this case even more disturbing. Jamesha Covson wasn't killed because of jealousy or money or even rage. She was killed because she found out something about Joshua that he couldn't let anyone else know. What Jamesha discovered about her boyfriend's true nature cost her and her unborn child their lives. So before I tell you what really happened on that June day in Memphis, I want you to comment below. What do you think Jamesha found out? What secret was so dangerous that Joshua was willing to kill for it? Because trust me, the truth is worse than anything you're thinking right now. Before we continue, I need to say this. Jamesha Covson was only 19 years old. She had her whole life ahead of her, and she was carrying a baby who would never get the chance to take their first breath. To her family watching this, I can't begin to understand your pain. Losing a daughter, a sister, a granddaughter, and knowing that your grandchild was taken too, there are no words for that kind of heartbreak. The neighbors on Quinn Avenue, they heard those gunshots. They called 911. They tried to help. But sometimes, evil moves faster than good people can respond. This isn't just another true crime story to discuss over dinner. This was a real woman with real dreams, real fears, and real love for the baby she was carrying. Her name was Jamesha, and she mattered. Her family deserves justice. Her memory deserves respect. And her story, as painful as it is to tell, needs to be heard. Because maybe, just maybe, it will help someone else recognize the warning signs before it's too late. So we're going to tell this story with the dignity Jamesha deserves. Not for entertainment, but for truth. Let me take you back to June 12, 2020, Memphis, Tennessee. Jamesha Covson was 19 years old and 5 months pregnant. She had finally done something that took incredible courage. She had left Joshua Dotson. You have to understand, leaving an abusive relationship when you're pregnant, that's one of the most dangerous things a woman can do. Statistics show that domestic violence gets worse during pregnancy, and Jamesha knew this. But she was trying to build a better life for herself and her baby. She was living on Quinn Avenue in South Memphis. She was planning for her future, planning to be a mother. That morning, Jamesha posted something on Facebook. Just a normal post, the kind of thing any 19-year-old might share. Maybe a photo, maybe a thought about her day. We don't know exactly what it said, but Joshua saw it, and whatever that post was, it sent him into a rage. He showed up at her house that afternoon, angry, demanding to talk, and they started arguing about that Facebook post, about their relationship, about the baby she was carrying. Jamesha stood her ground. She had left him for a reason. She wasn't going back. But what Jamesha said next, what she told Joshua during that argument, would seal her fate. Because she had found out something about him, something he thought he had hidden, something he would kill to keep secret. What happened next? Multiple people witnessed. Joshua didn't leave after that argument. He stayed on Quinn Avenue. Neighbors saw him outside Jamesha's house. They saw him getting more and more angry. Then he did something that shows you exactly the kind of person he was. He walked up to Jamesha's front door, and he started shooting through the closed door. Think about that for a second. Jamesha was inside her home. The door was closed. She thought she was safe. And Joshua fired multiple shots right through that door. Let me show you the timeline of what happened next. 4:30 p.m. Neighbors hear the first gunshots. 4:32 p.m. Joshua forces his way into the house. 4:35 p.m. More shouting, more arguing. 4:40 p.m. Joshua leaves the scene. 6:15 p.m. Joshua returns. 6:20 p.m. Final gunshots. 6:25 p.m. 911 calls flood in. But here's what makes this even more chilling. The neighbors heard something during those gunshots that police initially missed. Something that would later become important evidence. They heard Jamesha, still talking, still alive, still trying to reason with the man who was killing her. Emergency services rushed her to the hospital, but it was too late. Jamesha died from her wounds, and her baby, her unborn child, died with her. 2 lives lost, a mother and child who never got to meet. Now here's where this case gets truly disturbing. 2 hours after shooting Jamesha, Joshua Dotson posted a memorial for her on Facebook. "Fly high," he wrote. The same man who had just killed her was now publicly mourning her death, pretending to be grieving, acting like he cared. Police started their investigation immediately. They had witnesses, they had evidence. They knew Joshua was their suspect, but investigators were about to uncover something that changed everything. Something that would reveal why Jamesha really died, and what secret she had discovered about the man she once loved. Joshua Dotson knew he was in trouble. After killing Jamesha, he didn't stick around Memphis. He ran. He drove straight to Nashville, probably thinking he could disappear, maybe start over somewhere else. But when you murder a pregnant woman in broad daylight with multiple witnesses, you can't just vanish. Memphis police put out a bolo alert. Be on the lookout for Joshua Dotson, armed and dangerous. Within days, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation added him to their most wanted list. His photo was everywhere. Local news, social media, police bulletins. But here's where Joshua made a huge mistake. While he was on the run, he kept posting on Facebook. On June 16th, just 4 days after killing Jamesha, Joshua went live on Facebook, and what he said, it was unbelievable. He claimed he was innocent. He said he was going to turn himself in. He acted like he was the victim in all of this. Can you imagine? The man who shot his pregnant ex-girlfriend through her front door was now playing the victim on social media. But his lies didn't last long. On June 18th, 6 days after the murder, police found him in Nashville. He was arrested without incident. Look at this booking photo. This is Joshua Dotson after his arrest. 24 years old, looking like any other young man you might pass on the street. But when police started interviewing him, when they started asking questions about his past, that's when things got really disturbing. Joshua wasn't just some jealous ex-boyfriend who lost control. Police interviews revealed disturbing details about Dotson's past. Details that painted a picture of someone far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. They started looking into other cases, other unsolved murders in the Memphis area, other young people who had died under suspicious circumstances. And what they found, what they discovered about Joshua Dotson, would connect him to 3 other unsolved cases. 3 other families who had been waiting for answers. 3 other victims who deserved justice. 4 years passed. 4 long years while Jamesha's family waited for justice. Finally, in August 2024, Joshua Dotson's trial began in Memphis. The courtroom was packed. Jamesha's family, reporters, people from the community, all waiting to hear the truth about what happened that day in June 2020. The prosecution laid out their case. The evidence was overwhelming. Multiple witnesses, physical evidence, those Facebook posts, everything pointed to Joshua's guilt. But then something happened that nobody expected. Something that would change this entire case. Joshua Dotson decided to testify in his own defense. Now, most defense attorneys will tell their clients, "Don't take the stand. Don't testify. It's too risky." But Joshua, he wanted to talk. And what he said, it shocked everyone in that courtroom. Instead of denying what he did, instead of showing remorse, Joshua Dotson looked at that jury and called himself a serial killer. Let me repeat that. In open court, under oath, Joshua Dotson referred to himself as a serial killer. But it gets worse. He didn't stop there. Joshua started confessing to other murders. Murders that had happened before Jamesha's death. Murders that police had been trying to solve for years. He confessed to killing 18-year-old Divian Parker in November 2019. Shot him on Elvis Presley Boulevard in Memphis. He confessed to killing Renita Bennett and Reginald Anderson in 2020. 2 more lives taken by this man. 5 murders total. 5 people dead by Joshua Dotson's hands. And suddenly, everything made sense. This is what Jamesha had discovered. This is the secret that got her killed. Somehow, some way, Jamesha had found out that her boyfriend was a killer. Maybe she saw something, heard something, put pieces together that other people had missed. And when she confronted him about it, when she threatened to expose what he had done, he killed her to keep her quiet. His courtroom behavior shocked even seasoned prosecutors. This wasn't a man showing remorse. This wasn't someone who had made a terrible mistake. This was someone who was proud of what he had done. Someone who wanted the world to know he was a killer. But Joshua Dotson wasn't finished. His testimony got even more disturbing. He started comparing himself to Michael Myers, the fictional killer from the Halloween movies. He was treating this like some kind of game, like he was proud to be associated with a horror movie character. And then, he did something that showed just how cool he really was. Joshua started calling Jamesha degrading names in court, right in front of her family, right in front of the people who loved her most. He called her a sex worker. He tried to destroy her reputation even after death. This was the mother of his child, the woman he had claimed to love. And he was trying to humiliate her memory in open court. But here's what really mattered. Joshua admitted that Jamesha knew too much about his crimes. He essentially confirmed what investigators had suspected all along. Jamesha died because she discovered the truth about who Joshua really was. Let me show you the full timeline of Joshua Dotson's murders. November 2019, Divian Parker, 18 years old, shot on Elvis Presley Boulevard. 2020, Renita Bennett, murdered. 2020, Reginald Anderson, murdered. June 12, 2020, Jamesha Covson, 19 years old, and her unborn child. 5 lives, 5 families destroyed, all because one man thought he had the right to decide who lived and who died. In August 2024, Joshua Dotson was convicted of 2 counts of first-degree murder for killing Jamesha and her baby. The judge sentenced him to 102 years in prison, 2 consecutive 51-year terms. But the story didn't end there. This past February, just a few months ago, Joshua pleaded guilty to 3 additional first-degree murder charges for the other victims. The judge sentenced him to an additional 159 years. His total sentence? 261 years in prison. Joshua Dotson will die behind bars. He will never hurt another person. He will never walk free again. But justice for Joshua doesn't bring Jamesha back. It doesn't give her family their daughter back. It doesn't give that unborn child a chance at life. What it does do is make sure that other families don't have to go through what Jamesha's family went through. If you're in an abusive relationship, if someone you know is showing warning signs, please reach out for help. The National Domestic Violence Hotline is available 24/7. Jamesha Covson was 19 years old. She should be alive today, raising her child, building her future. Instead, she became another statistic, another victim of domestic violence. But she's not just a statistic to us. She was a real person with real dreams. And her story, as painful as it is, needs to be remembered, because maybe, just maybe, it will save someone else's life. This case has had a lasting impact on domestic violence awareness in Memphis and beyond. Jamesha's story has been shared in safety programs, in counseling centers, in places where women go when they need help leaving dangerous relationships. Her name is spoken in training sessions for police officers, teaching them how to recognize the signs of escalating abuse. Her story is told in hospitals, where nurses learn to ask the right questions when they see unexplained injuries. Domestic violence advocates have used Jamesha's case to push for stronger laws, better protection for pregnant women, and more resources for victims trying to escape dangerous situations. Her death wasn't in vain if it helps other women recognize the warning signs. If it helps them understand that leaving an abusive relationship is dangerous, but staying can be deadly. And here's what makes this even more heartbreaking. Jamesha Covson wanted to be a mother. She was planning a nursery, picking out baby names, dreaming about holding her child for the first time. Think about that for a moment. While Joshua was out there killing other people, Jamesha was at home, probably looking at baby clothes online. Maybe she was reading parenting books. Maybe she was talking to her baby, telling them about the life they were going to have together. That baby would be almost 5 years old now, if Joshua Dotson hadn't stolen that future. 5 years old and starting kindergarten. Learning to read, playing with friends, calling Jamesha mama, and running to her when they got scared. All of that was taken away. All of those moments, first steps, first words, first day of school, birthday parties, bedtime stories. None of it will ever happen. We remember Jamesha not as a victim, but as a young woman who had the courage to leave, who tried to protect herself and her child, who deserved so much better than what happened to her. She was 19 years old. She should be 24 now. Maybe married to someone who actually loved her, maybe with more children, maybe pursuing a career, or traveling, or just living the normal, peaceful life that every person deserves. And we remember her baby, who never got the chance to be born, to take their first breath, to know their mother's love. A child who was wanted, who was planned for, who was already loved before they ever took their first breath. This case teaches us something important, something we all need to remember. Sometimes the most dangerous person is the one you think you know. Joshua Dotson wasn't a stranger hiding in the shadows. He wasn't some random criminal who broke into her house. He was someone Jamesha had loved, someone she had trusted, someone she had shared her bed with, her dreams with, her fears with. She probably told him she loved him. She probably felt safe with him, at least in the beginning. She trusted him enough to get pregnant by him. But behind that familiar face, behind those shared memories and intimate moments, behind the person she thought she knew, was a killer, a man who had already taken 3 lives before he ever met her. A man who was capable of looking at a pregnant woman, his own pregnant girlfriend, and pulling the trigger. That's what makes domestic violence so terrifying. The threat doesn't come from outside your home. It comes from inside it. It comes from the person sleeping next to you. The person who knows your schedule, your passwords, your fears, your weaknesses. The person who knows exactly how to hurt you, because you've trusted them with that knowledge. And here's the thing that should scare all of us. Joshua Dotson looked normal. He probably seemed charming when Jamesha first met him. He probably made her laugh, made her feel special, made her think she was lucky to be with him. That's how predators work. They don't introduce themselves as killers. They introduce themselves as the perfect boyfriend, the perfect partner, the person you've been waiting for your whole life. So if this case has taught you anything, Let it be this: trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it probably is. If someone scares you, believe that fear. If your friends and family are worried about your relationship, listen to them. And if you need help, reach out. There are people who will believe you, who will help you, who will keep you safe. The National Domestic Violence Hotline is 1-800-799-7233. They're available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You don't have to be perfect to deserve safety. You don't have to be strong all the time. You don't have to handle this alone. What do you think about this case? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to learn more about cases like this, check out our previous coverage of similar stories. Because these stories need to be told. These victims need to be remembered. Their names need to be spoken. Their lives need to matter. Jamesha Covson mattered. Her baby mattered. Divion Parker mattered. Renita Bennett and Reginald Anderson mattered.